Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. In the previous session here, we had quite a bit of selling pressure, and price closed briefly below the previous session's low there, and after-hours trading kind of popped up a little bit to close back above it. But for the most part, that was a pretty significant top for the intraday and could signal a near-term pullback over the next 1 to 3 days. However, the one level that kind of stands in the way here is 3360. Any push through 3360 really starts to open up, just a continuation higher, as this market has been very, very bullish, very directional right now. Any pullback has been bought. Mostly any pullback below the 8-period average has been bought. Never even getting a test at 21s here since the change of bias here in the breakout. So this has been very, very strong. The idea is that we likely remain bullish, but if price starts to falter at 3360, that could open up a pullback of some magnitude. If this is the top here, or at least a short-term top, if price can't get through 3360, then perhaps we snap back to the FOMC key level at 32.39 So that level went bid. If this is a short-term top, perhaps we could rotate back into that level for a retest, and then it could become another buying opportunity for a continuation higher. So right now, 3360 is going to be very, very important, and in the short term, a break back below 33.45 could open up a bit more downside on an intraday basis. So right now, those are two key levels here to watch during the day. Let's take a look now at the NQ here. Now with the NQ, this one has already put in a top over the last 3 days, 4 days now. And you can see 1, 2, 3 now working on the 4 days. If we bring this out, this is something we do in our trading room here quite often to quantify these moves. We'll bring this out to a 5-day range here, and many of the pullbacks we've seen here recently, whether they be 3-day pullbacks, 3-day pullbacks, a 2-day, this is a 4-day, this is a 5-day, 2-day, this is a 4-day. Currently we're in a 4-day pullback. You can see how they measure out down below, and one thing that we see is that price goes about 600 points each time, and sometimes gets as high as 800 points here. So for the most part, we could be looking at a 600 point pullback, and right now we've got about 437 points of range, which means we could have a little more downside first. Another 175 points of downside, say from 10.8 down to 10.6 before we see a bounce. And if you measure that out, it actually puts us right back at around the FOMC key level of 10.615. That's the FOMC from July 29th. So again, right now this market remains trending higher, but there could be a little bit more pullback here before we see the buy come through. And again, we're currently at 437 points range. We may see somewhere between 600 and 800 points on the pullback. So there could be a little bit more to go. Now, the key level to watch here for bears and bulls is 11K, because that's the level that bears want to keep offered for a shot at seeing more downside. And bulls want to recapture that zone and start working back higher. So again, that 11K is going to be very, very important today. Failure to get back above that zone opens up more pullback, which again, any pullback could still be a buying opportunity down the road. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. This one's up 2.25% right now. You'll notice another attempt to push through the previous month's high price. So we have the previous month's high right here. That's that blue line. Big rejection here after reaching a high of 43.52. Another rejection here, another rejection in the previous session, and here we are again above that zone. Now, what makes this a little different today is that we're well through the previous session's midpoint already. Well through that level. That's about 42.21s. And that's pretty significant there, because to find acceptance above that zone would suggest 9 times out of 10 you go out there and take out that high. So if this is a bit of compression here after reaching this key range, are we about to build enough energy to come up here, take out this high, and challenge the key range high at 43.52? So right now, looking fairly strong, but again, this market just doesn't want to find acceptance above the 42.50 to 43 zone here lately. So that's the zone to watch. If it starts to find some acceptance through there, it could open up a move into 43.52 in the near term. Okay, let's take a look now at gold. Now, we talked about gold being one of those markets that may be due for a pullback in our monthly market outlook. If you want to find the recording to that, you can go to pivotboss.ecofin.co and click on the PivotBoss TV video playlist. And when you do that, it's free for everybody to click on that playlist. It'll pop up and you can rewatch it in the video playlist. You'll just have to find the monthly market outlook. It'll be a couple of videos down. But for the most part, we talked about the potential of price seeing a pullback and re-auctioning through these prices to fatten up the profile. I mentioned we could drop as deep as the 1850 to 1860 zone, and then we would see a clear LVN develop. I also mentioned that if this is the impulse high, then we have to let it sell off until you find that strong impulse low. Once you find that strong impulse high and low, now we're looking for a midpoint bounce back to that midpoint, and we'll have ourselves a large key range where we can do some business here ahead of the next continuation. But this impulse move right here is going to give us the targets right now moving forward. Right now you can see this is 2090 basically, 1875 basically, and that'll give us 115 points. Is that right? Of range, or is that 215 points of range? And that is what you can forecast higher from here. So we're looking at around 2,300 points, something like that, 2,300 as the upside target, perhaps a little bit more. So we'll measure that out in the room today and have that key range ready to go. But for the most part, that impulse move was needed. We have our breakout where the LVN will be, and now the idea is that we'll likely bounce back toward the midpoint of this impulse sell-off here and create a key range. But price needs to stay above that 1920, 1915 zone here throughout much of the day in order for that idea to continue to build out. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this builds out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.